Good afternoon. Welcome to Profit Lifter Live. It is a beautiful Wednesday, and today we are going to be talking about defining your brand. I know this is important for a lot of businesses that are just getting started. If you're brand new and you haven't thought through this, this is going to be one of the keys to really building out your business, defining who you are, what you do, how you do it, all that fun stuff that goes along with it. So today we actually have some slides to keep me organized, and this is going to be about a 30-minute session that we're going to dig in. And while we're going through this, if you have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. And if you're joining me, give me a hi. Let me know where you're joining me from. Just introduce yourself to the masses. Let them know that you're here. All right. Let's hop in. Today, we are going to be talking about defining your brand. This is going to be a live marketing session that we're going to help you define your marketing and take one of the most critical parts of developing your marketing and developing your online presence for conversions. So before we jump into like how it all works and all that, we need to first define what is a brand. So as you have probably figured out, your branding is crucial for all businesses. There's no way that you can run a business and not have a brand that people recognize. Branding your business is going to improve just almost every single area of your business, everything that you're doing. All the best companies have brands, and I'm sure if you think about it, if you think about Coca-Cola, you think about Pepsi, you think about Starbucks, you see blue, green, red, their brand colors, their logos, their voice, their style, who they're looking for. Branding is crucial for all businesses. And a brand is much more than just a logo. Your logo, to me, when we're looking at like building brand packages and helping businesses to get started with their brands, the first step is the logo, because the logo is kind of the cornerstone that's going to branch out into everything. But to get to that logo, there's other things that you have to think through. So when you're thinking about branding, it's not just about like colors. It's not just about what's on your website. I mean, all that's important, but it goes so much deeper than that. But the biggest way to explain it is your brand is how people actually perceive your business. It's not about them being able to see the colors that they want to see. It's not really about much more than anything else. It's really the public perception of how they view you and how they see you. And the trick to this is the perception isn't even a visual thing. It's all about how they feel when they see you. So let's take an example. I mentioned Starbucks before. I'm not a big Starbucks drinker, but I appreciate what they've done on a business level. One thing that I love about Starbucks is that there's this consistent vibe inside of their stores that when you go in, you feel welcome. You feel like you should be sitting there with a cup of coffee and reading or typing on your computer or doing something. It really, they did a great job of making you feel like you can just pop into Starbucks for 15, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, however long, and just hang out, have coffee, enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy just everything around it. And so they invoked a feeling. And there are some other things, one of my favorite ones this time of year is Coca-Cola. And the reason that I love the Coca-Cola brand this time of year actually has to do with the little polar bear that they used to use. I love that polar bear because it was like a connection with my family. My stepdad loved bears. And so like that would come on Christmas time. You'd always get that stuff. So now when I see Coke, it reminds me of that polar bear this time of year. And it makes me smile. It makes me feel good. It brings something that's reminiscent. But when you're thinking about your brand, you want to be thinking about how do people feel when they see you? What are the emotions that you're trying to invoke with them? And then playing on that. So, all right, let's dive into the core elements of a brand. So what we're going to do here is we're going to map out the different elements of the brand, and then we're going to dive into them a little bit deeper. So the first one is going to be the brand purpose. Like, what do you do? Why do you do it? What is the purpose of your brand? Now, we're all entrepreneurs here, so I'll just say the quiet part out loud. It's to make money, but there's a deeper reason. Why do you want to make money? Why is making money so important to you? Why did you choose the industry? And we'll dive into this. Next is going to be your identity, like how they see you, like what you're putting out there, what you're trying to portray. Next is going to be your brand voice and tone, how you talk to them, how you sound, like how you're communicating with them. And then you've got your target audience. Your target audience is who you're talking to, which is really going to define a lot of the other ones. And then lastly, we have your brand story, like why, who you are, what it is that you're trying to tell, what you're portraying with them, and then diving into all of that. So let's dive into these core elements of a brand. Man, my computer is being real slow today. So first thing we're going to talk about is your brand purpose. So why does your business exist? Now, I had mentioned this before in the previous slide, but let's dive into this. Like, why did you start your business? What is the driving factor that made you go, man, I have to do this. I'm willing to invest my time, my energy, my money, my passion, everything I have inside of this. So why? What is your why? What is the reason why? And I think this is so important because a lot of times, well, not even a lot of times, man, as entrepreneurs, we go through some crap. Like we go through the biggest ups and downs of any other demographic I've ever talked to. Because like as an entrepreneur, we're responsible for making sure that there's money to pay our bills. Like we're running teams, we're managing people, we're running ads, we're juggling all these different things, and we're putting ourselves under just ungodly amounts of stress. For what reason? Like why do we exist? Why are we doing what we're doing? And how does that and how is that going to impact, and like how does that impact you? And the reason that I believe this is so important when you're talking about your brand purpose, it's not just for your audience. I mean, your audience definitely is going to love this and it's going to be important to them. But I think even more importantly is that it plays just as much into you as it does your actual audience. Because at the end of the day, when you go through these hard times and you go through these dry spells and you go through the frustration of scaling and growing and hiring and these people not being the right people for your team and blah, 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 all the millions and millions of things that go on, it takes a toll on you. But if you always remember your why, if you always come back to the reason that you're doing this, not the money. The money goes away. I mean, look, you could have $10,000 in your bank account right now. By this time next month, they're going to be looking for your next 10. It's just the way that it is. Money goes through, money comes and goes. But the reason that we're doing it, why are you building it? And having that brand purpose available for your audience, for your leads, for your clients is really important. I'll be honest with you. There are if you look in my garage, the majority of my money that I make, my disposable income, the fun stuff that I like spending my money on, is all tied up in drum equipment. And there are just tons of different brands, tons of different things. But I've got my go-to brands that I love. And part of the reason that I found them is like understanding like their why. Like there are brands that I work with just because they buy their message of why they do what they do deeply resonates with me, and it makes me feel emotional. And it can be like I use Vader drumsticks. I love them. And it's just their brand, how they approach things, how they talk to it, and why they do what they do it just resonates with me. And part of this is going to be you defining your mission statement and your vision. Now, while I was putting this all together, I realized we're gonna do a live just on developing a mission statement and a vision, because to me, I've talked with thousands of entrepreneurs over the years, and what I find is that not many of them actually have a mission statement. Like, what is their mission? What is your mission, and why is that important? And then outside of that, what is your vision? The reason that I love this for a brand so much, though, is that if you can portray your vision, you will attract a lot more people to come in and actually participate and engage with you and be a part of it. Because if they can see where you're going, not necessarily where you're at, but where you're going, they see the vision, they see the big picture, you'll get more long-term clients. You'll get people that are in it for the long haul with you, because they know that if they get started and the vision goes where you want it to go, that they've got a lot of upside to being with you on this journey. So defining your mission, defining your vision goes a long way for people understanding your brand, why you're there, and will get people to buy into you. And even if they don't buy into you immediately, it plays into what I like to call the sales algorithm. In the sales algorithm, when you're doing a sales pitch, there are three things that you need to be able to portray. One, can they love your company? Two, can they love the person that they're talking with? And three, will you fix their problem? Those are the three obstacles that you need to overcome anytime you're selling. Will it fix their problem? Do they love the company, and do they love the person they're talking to? That's it. Those three things. If you can overcome those three things, pricing becomes less of an objection. Everything else starts to kind of fall by the wayside. But to do this, you've got to have your mission and vision in place, because if you can't articulate what you do, why you do it, how you're doing it, any of that, and they can't see where you're going, they're not going to buy into you right now, because they don't even see why. Why should they? Next is define your goals in terms of your purpose. Now, I see a lot of times, and I've been guilty of this, where I'll sit down and go, oh, especially now, it's end of the year. Like, I'm looking at 2025 going, okay, here's our goals, here's what we want to do. And a lot of times this revolves around like monetary side, where I look at it and I'm like, oh, okay, well, we want to be making at least $85,000, $90,000 a month by February. And we start listing out all these different things that we're putting together and that we're doing. But then I have to take a step back and go, okay, like that's how we keep score. The numbers are how we keep score. But if I turn that around and I start to define my goal in terms of purpose, now when I'm talking with people, it changes the dynamic. And when you're talking with your team, it changes the dynamic. Because if I go at it from hey, we need to have $1 million in revenue for 2025, everybody's like, yay, that's great, wonderful. But if you go, hey, you know what? We want to help 200 businesses launch in the year 2025. Now our goal is much more empowering. Now we're looking at this going, oh, okay, now I see the big picture. I see where we're going with this. And it gives you that ability to get your team excited and give them something to really buy into. And not only that, but like when you start looking at like team dynamics and you start looking at like personality types and how people function, people who are not sales oriented, people who are not numbers oriented aren't going to care about a dollar value that they want to hit. But they may look at it and go, oh, I know this client. I've talked to him 30 times. That's what they're going to be thinking about, is like, okay, I want to get them launched. I want to get their business live, or I want to get them funded, or I want to get them my widget in their hands. Like, that is the goal in terms of purpose. And I think defining your brand and defining your purpose and then setting your goals around that purpose really creates an atmosphere within your business that gets people excited about working with you, and get your team excited about communicating with you. All right, brand purpose. Next, let's talk about brand identity. Brand identity, what we're going to be doing is we're going to align all of our brand identity with your brand personality. Now, when you're talking about a brand personality is going to be different than your actual I don't even know where I was going with that, but your brand personality should be like how you're communicating and we'll go through all of these. But man, sorry, I got a little chest cold or something going on here. The best thing that the best piece of advice that I figured out, and I figured this out because like my last company before this, when I was doing pretty much the same thing, just focused more on the websites, like I went through a lot of different iterations because I'd set up these JVs and they'd have their way of how they would sell and they would promote. And at the time I was younger and I was looking at it going, oh, well, we can just adapt our language to be able to fit what's inside of there. But what I found is that I ended up building a business that wasn't true to my personality and wasn't true to my identity. And it even got to a point, it even got to a point where like I would look at it and I'm like, I don't even like my own company. Like I loved what I was doing. I love my clients. I love the products that we were producing, but our brand didn't feel authentic to me. It wasn't a direct reflection of how I communicate, what I do, why I do what I do, everything involved with that. So as you're thinking about your brand personality, I want you to be thinking about, is this a brand that I would buy? And the reason that I want you to think about that is because if you want to attract the right clients, they need to be clients that you can personally connect with, that you can personally relate to. Let me give you an example. And if I offend any of you, sorry, but that's not the point of this. I am not a type A person. I am not like get out there and go, like I'm aggressive. I'm a risk taker. I'll do all of that. But I'm not I'm the biggest, baddest, best around and blah, 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 blah. And that's just not me. And so if I start creating assets like that and I start putting out brand terms like that and content like that, it makes me feel gross. It makes me feel unauthentic. And so part of it, like as we're working through our brand, the Profit Lifter brand personality, I'm looking at this going, is this something that I can 100% buy into as the owner, as the head guy? Is this something that I absolutely love, adore, can really grab onto and be proud of, regardless of who comes here? So here's what we want to look at. With your brand personality, you want to think about your name. Now, your name is probably the most important part of your business. And again, I'm stepping on toes today. I'm sorry, but not sorry. But like as you get into defining your company name, find something that's original. Find something that actually talks about or gives some sort of direction on what you do. For example, if I go, hey, we're Profit Lifter, nobody's going to say, oh, do you sell hair extensions? No, they're like profit. Okay, they're in the business to business industry and you're talking about profits. So you must help businesses make money. Tell me what you do. So finding your name is very important with this, especially like if you're going to be doing digital marketing, if you're going to be out there running ads, putting together content, doing live videos, putting out YouTube videos, all of this stuff. If your brand name does not fit with what you're doing, you may want to look at revamping it. And I'll tell you, I've got hundreds of you guys inside of our CRM, and there are some really bad names out there, but I'll never tell you in person if it is. But like, for example, if you go, we're ABC Investments, nobody cares about ABC Investments. Or if you come up with this divinity power of the third degree squared incorporated, like nobody cares about that. Nobody's going to remember it. You want to be thinking about what is a name that's short, easy to remember, and has a URL. Like that's a big one. Make sure that you have a URL out there. But thinking through your business name is going to be critical to how people are going to perceive you, how they're going to feel about you as they're working with you and engaging with you. Next is going to be your logo, because you can't have a logo without having a name. But thinking about your logo, what's your logo look like? What does it feel like? What do you want to incorporate? Do you want to incorporate strength? Do you want to incorporate creativity, like compassion? All of this stuff goes into it. Having your logo, making sure that it looks good, it's clean. And one thing, a little side note on your logo, keep it minimal. If you get too complex with the logo, it doesn't work. So the reason it doesn't work well is not that it's not cool, but I always think about, can I put this logo on a hat? Can I put it on a shirt? Can I put it on swag? Is it something that I can put an emblem on? And if I put my emblem on there, is it recognizable? thinking through your logo, thinking through simplicity, thinking through something that's quickly recognizable that actually kind of portrays your brand goes a long way. And like ours is a P with an arrow lifting up. We're Profit Lifter. I mean, it doesn't get much easier than that. Next, you want to be thinking about you want to be thinking about your brand colors. I'm going to look up something real quick here. Here it is. Love this image. Love this image. Pull this image up. Here we go. Okay, I've been using this image for years, but and this isn't mine. This one I found online. When you're thinking about your brand colors, there are certain images that are going to evoke certain emotions. And this color emotion guide is one of the best that I've ever found. Like I said, this has been around for a long time, but you can see that like they tie in all of the different colors with what they actually make people feel like. So yellow is optimism, clarity, warmth, and you can see the brands that incorporate yellow. Orange is friendly, cheerful, confident. Nickelodeon, Hooters, Amazon, Payless, Firefox, Fanta, Stars. You can see all of these. They're cheerful. Next, you have red, which is excitement, youthful, bold. Kellogg's, Nintendo, Kmart. Kmart didn't do a good job with that. Coca-Cola, CNN, Legos, Target. Like you can see all of these different brands here. And you've got like a purple that's more creative, imaginative. You can see Sci-Fi uses that. T-Mobile, Barbie, Yahoo, Hallmark, Taco Bell. I don't know why Taco Bell needs to be creative, but you do you and keep making awesome tacos and we'll be fine. Blue is going to represent trust, dependable. You can see like peaceful, strength, peaceful growth, health. You can see all of those, balance, calm. Gray is weird though. Like I think this is more just like using black and white. That is what that comes down to. So gray tone. But when you're thinking through your colors, I'm going to save this. Let me see if I can throw this in our chats for you here. I'm not sure that I can, but I'll try. But when you're thinking about your brand colors, I want you to keep this chart in mind because this goes a long way with how people are going to perceive you. Oh yeah, it's not actually going to let me. It's not actually going to let me put all that stuff in there. Okay. All right, let's get back. Next, we have typography. Typography is your fonts. Like thinking through what you're going to be using for fonts is really critical because it can change how everything feels on a website, on your marketing, on everything, just with a couple clicks by changing all your headlines, changing your content fonts. These actually invoke emotions. Like if you use, I don't have an account pulled up where I could show you. But like if you use like a big, thick language, it kind of gives this warm, bubbly feeling. It makes people feel happy. If you use something that's thinner that maybe is a little more cursive, it gives more of an elegance. It gives more of a theme. If you use something a little more blocky that just kind of stacks in there, it's going to make them feel like it's structured, it's organized, it's in place, it's in order. So thinking through your typography, thinking through all the different options that are out there, and there are thousands and thousands of different fonts to choose from. But thinking about your typography. And next, you want to be thinking about your design. Like, what do you want your designs to look like? As you've seen with Profit Lifter, we like using a lot of circles. We like using more round shapes, like things that make it feel creative, that make it feel a little more abstract, that make it feel like it's engaging. Now, if you use something that like sharper edges and points and corners, things like that, when you start looking at stuff on that side, it's actually it's going to give more of a formal look. It's going to be more clean, more polished, more professional. And so for you, you need to figure out, like, what's my design? What do I want it to feel like? What do I want it to be like? And I know this is a little more advanced stuff as you start getting into custom designs, things like that. But that's the direction that you're going to be going. I promise you, all of you will get to a point that you're going to need things designed. You're going to be thinking about all this. When you have this in order, it's really easy for you to communicate with people what you do, how you do it, what you want it to look like, feel like, and invoke all of that. All right. Next up, come on. There we go. We're going to be talking about voice and tone. How does your brand communicate? Voice and tone is really important. And this gets more into like writing your content, your videos, how you're communicating with people. But the first thing I always ask is, what's your vibe? Like, what are you trying to, what do you want people to feel when they hear or read your content? What is the goal? Do you want them to go, oh my gosh, I love Keith. He's happy. He's nice. He takes care of us. He's incredibly informative, gives us lots of information. Or do they go, hey, I love Mike over there because he's structured, he's organized, he's got everything in order. Everything's just always there. It's always on point. Like, what is the vibe that you want people to feel? What is it that you want them to get and understand? And then, and when you're communicating with them. Next, you want to be thinking about, how can you match your tone with your audience values? This one, I believe, is actually a big deal. When you're thinking about matching your tone with your audience values, this gets into understanding the language of what they're saying. And this isn't industry jargon. This isn't industry language. This is more about, like, what is it that you're doing? What is your audience looking for? And then how can you connect with them? How can you talk with them, understanding their needs, understanding what they're going through, and working through that. One of the keys with this is speaking to your audience, not at your audience. I don't like when people are talking at me. I like when they feel like they're talking to me. They're taking the time to make sure that I understand, taking the time to make sure that the whatever is being said is being listened to. But speak to your audience, not at them. Does your tone connect with your ideal audience? One of the big things when you get into like running ads, you get into writing like SEO posts, things like that, you may find that you are attracting the wrong audience. You may look up and go, man, I'm getting all these people who have no interest in what I'm talking about, what I'm doing, what I'm dealing with. So maybe look at adjusting your tone. If the tone on your videos is attracting the wrong type of person, maybe it's time to look at what it is that you're saying, how you're saying it, and how that actually deals and how that is connecting with your ideal audience. If the way that you're saying things, if the way that you're presenting things is attracting the wrong people, stop doing it. That simple. Start trying new language, start trying new verbiage, start trying different ways of presenting things. And if you don't know if you don't know exactly what that looks like, throw it into ChatGPT. Tell it what you're trying to do, and have it give you some options to be able to go through that. But you want to make sure that your tone is matching your audience values and what they're looking for, and what that is. And so that brings us to our next point: is your target audience. I want you to be thinking through, who are you speaking to? When you start defining this, coming up with all the tone and language starts to become really easy because you know who you're talking to. So how old are they? What's their age range? And again, I want you to think about your target. And when you're thinking about developing your brand, I don't want you to think about, I'll take anybody from the age 21 to 72. Of course, we all will. But but what we're looking at is not necessarily who you're willing to take as a client. Who is your perfect client? Like, how old are they? Like, for me, I could look at it and go, okay, you know what? I know that somebody between 35 and 50 is really our target. Like, these are the people, they've got money, they've got stability, they've lived life, they understand what they're doing, and they're going to be a better longer term client because they may have had a career that makes it easier for them to launch a business. Now, that's not saying there's not 25-year-olds out there just absolutely dominating the market and killing it. That is 100% factual. Like that absolutely is. And will I take a 25-year-old who's out there dominating? Why wouldn't I? Like we all would. But for targeting purposes, I'm thinking about the masses. Like, how do I target in the middle of what I want so that, like, as it spreads, that, we're getting all the people around it, but I'm trying to attract my perfect target audience. If you have a gender specific product, are you talking to a male? Are you talking to a female? What is it? What's their occupation? What do they do? What industry are they in? What's their position? What's their role? What do they do? And the most important, what do they need? Like, what is your target audience looking for? What problem are you going to fix for them? What is it that they need? And then when you can understand their needs, their challenges, and can identify them, and even almost come up with a picture of what they look like, now you're going to be able to understand them, speak to them, connect with them, create assets that are engaging to them, because you know who they are. You've identified them. You know what they look like. So that's your target audience. Next, let's talk about your brand story. Your brand story should reflect who you are. Like, what do you do? What's your secret sauce? To me, this is one of the most important things, is understanding your secret sauce, or as we like to put it in everything that we build, your unique value propositions. What is your UVP? What makes you more special than anything out there, on top of all the rest of the stuff? Sitting down and thinking through your secret sauce, putting together your UVPs will make content creation a snap. It'll make marketing easy. Everything. If you know what separates you in the market, you become unstoppable at that point. Then why should they care? Like, they know who you are, but why should they? Why do they give a rip? Why does it matter to them? Why is it important about who you are? Why does this matter? Because all they care about is one question: can you help them? Do you have the tools? Do you have the capacity to be able to solve their problem? When you're creating your brand, you need to be able to very quickly and eloquently explain what problems you can fix, how you're going to fix them, and be able to convince them of that. Because remember, let's go back to our three elements of the algorithm of sales. 1, can you fix their problems? 2, do they love your brand? 3, do they love the person they're talking to? You overcome those 3, you can sell anybody. But you've got to be able to quickly, easily, and convincingly share with them that you can help. Part of what will help with this is incorporating case studies, testimonials, thinking through like people who have worked with you. Your brand story is really about who you are, but it's also about other people who have come through and used your brand and have worked with you, and the results they've gotten, and what's happened with them, and where they're at in their journey now because they worked with you. All right, using your brand. This is I think it was my last slide here. Consistency is key. Once you have it defined, stick with it, use it, run with it, have fun with it, adopt it, make it yours. Just love it. Let it be something that you use for a long time until you figure out that you need to change or adjust it. Be consistent in your design, your content, your conversations. Look, if your conversation is disjointed from your content, people don't trust you. If your design is inconsistent and just all over the place, people aren't going to trust you. If they see all these brand colors on an ad, then they go to a landing page and it's just completely different, it's going to give this feeling of disconnectedness. Having consistency in your brand goes a long way, especially when you start talking about content and conversation. One of the biggest flaws that I've seen and been a part of, I can luckily say this has never been a business I've been involved with, but businesses that I've mentored or coached or been a part of as an employee. If I've seen where the marketing is figuring out how to produce results, so they're putting out these messages that are like, "Ooh, here's what's happening." Then they're not relaying that conversation points and what they're talking about over to the sales team. So the sales was disconnected from the marketing. And when your sales and marketing are disconnected, your conversion rate just absolutely tanks. Because if somebody buys into an ad enough to click and schedule a consultation and go through all this and commit their time, and then what you're saying doesn't match what they already bought into, they're instantly turned off. Like you're going to have to overcome a lot more at that point. So making sure that you're consistent in your content, your conversations, what you're saying, how you're saying it, even having catchphrases, taglines, things that you're using consistently that your entire team uses goes a long way for building the brand. For example, you go to Chick-fil-A. What do they say after you check out? My pleasure, right? Every time. So like it's consistency. It's a consistent thing across their entire brand, is that it's my pleasure to serve. When you see that in their marketing and then you hear it in the conversation, it reinforces that feeling that they have. And now they start to feel like, oh, this isn't just something they said to come get me to buy chicken. This is actually a culture of the company and how they operate and what they do. So having your brand in place, being consistent in your designs, your content, your conversation, and everything, it goes a long way. What can you do to make people feel the way you want them to about your brand? What can you do to make people feel the way that you want them to about your brand? And here are some tricks with this. Social proof, having testimonials, having case studies, having people who are talking about you, writing about you, being engaged with you, working with you. This goes miles and miles away. Now, I'm all for, if you don't have any reviews, you don't have any testimonials, like having generating some with AI, coming up with some on your own, not always a bad thing to get started. But the faster that you can grab real social proof from other people, the better it's going to go. And one thing that one of the reasons that this works so well, and this is going to be counterintuitive to everything that I just told you about consistency, but when somebody writes a review for you and they go in and they're using different language than you, it makes the people feel like it's more authentic. Because if they come in and they're like, oh, I bought product name and then product process, and they say everything exactly the same way that you have it, it feels fake and organic. Opposed to, oh, man, I got in there, they got my crap set up as fast as possible and I'm just blown away. And like, if it's more casual and it's more authentic to who they are, it actually lends a lot to the credibility of the social proof. But next is going to be social engagement. Now, social engagement actually has nothing to do with social media. This has to do with community engagement. And community engagement means, are you participating in your community? Are you out there as a force of good in your neighborhood, in your city, in your town, in your communities? Are you helping? Are you doing secret Santas? Are you helping with golf tournaments are you sponsoring events for big fundraisers and helping companies raise money for social events? Like one of the best things that I ever did when I was running the credit repair company is I partnered with a real estate agent locally that every year would do a huge golf tournament for St. Jude's. And the first couple of years went over so well that we approached them like, look, we want to be a part of helping raise money for St. Jude's. And so we started hosting poker tournaments, and went over like gangbusters. Like it was beautiful because we were able to go in and start inviting all the people that we were already marketing to a charity event. And nobody says no to showing up at a charity event, especially when there's people there that they want to network with. But having that, like people were like, it started creating this sense of, oh, you guys are the ones who help out with St. Jude's. Absolutely, we are. And it made people feel good about what we do and why we do what we do. So having social proof from clients, having social proof from your communities, engaging in your communities, being out there, being a force for good goes a long, long way for making people love who you are and what you do. And the last point is free. Just free. Anything that you could do that's free goes a long way. Now, I'm going to tell you this little secret about the free model. because the free having stuff that's free is amazing. Like it really does go a long way for working with people, for helping people to buy into your brand, understand who you are, engage with you. But if you don't have it, everybody has something that's free, and it doesn't necessarily need to be. What's a good way to put this? I'll just share with you an example of what we're doing. Last week we were working on our ads. I've been doing a lot of case studies. I've been looking into what different people are doing, different ads that are being ran out there. And I realized like one thing that we were doing is we were wrapping in like several different things, like a website, a CRM, email marketing, all this stuff into one package. And then I saw this ad that said free website. And my brain just went, oh, that's it. That's a freebie. It's a giveaway. It was something that was already included in our package that now I wanted to incorporate for free because it provides more value to my audience. They'll look at that and go, I want a free website. And so now we can build all the value around all the other stuff that we're doing. But we got this free website. Oh, you don't need the website? Cool, it's free anyway. Oh, you just need the CRM? That's cool. The website's free. If you need it, it's there. If you don't, that's cool. It's up to you. Having a free offer, thinking through like what are things that you can give away for free? What are things that you can be giving to people right now that doesn't cost you money, but you can add to your offers? What are giveaways? What are things that you can do? And I also believe that that when you're giving away free stuff, it builds a lot of trust with people. That's why I love lead magnets. That's why I love doing white papers, things like that. Because the more free stuff that you give to people, the more they feel like that you just have a massive amount of value that you're able to present for them, the better they're going to feel about your brand. Because remember, your brand is more about how they feel working with you rather than what you're saying and what you're doing. So these are all ways that you can be thinking through your process. Like, how do you want them to feel? How do you want them to engage with you? Who are you? Knowing your target audience. But that's all we got for branding for today, guys. Hope this was helpful. If you guys need any help with your branding, comment on the video. Go into the Facebook group. Go into your Profit Lifter account in the Resource Center. Start throwing out conversations in there. We're watching all the places, and we are always happy to help. Hope you guys have an amazing rest of your week. We will see you on Friday. And until then, go out and make a bunch of money for all of us.